In ancient Greece, the philosopher Zeno loved annoying people with crazy paradoxes. His most famous one is entitled Achilles and the Tortoise. So, suppose the great warrior Achilles had been challenged to a race by a common tortoise. Surely Achilles would win. But the tortoise included this stipulation. Achilles must begin the race 10 meters behind the tortoise. Still, wouldn't Achilles easily pass? This is where the paradox comes into play. If Achilles wanted to run 10 meters, he must first run half the distance, 5 meters. But in order to run that distance, Achilles must run half of 5 meters, 2.5 meters, and so on and so forth. So then, if there is an infinite amount of points between Achilles' starting point and the tortoise's starting point, then how can there be any movement at all? I trust that 2,500 years of mathematical study has provided us with an answer to this mystery, but it is beyond my scope. What I find more interesting about this little brain teaser is how it reminds us of the different sorts of the wonderful concept we have of infinity there are. The most common way to contemplate the infinite is by picturing a line that just keeps going and does not stop extending, or the idea of numbers simply going higher and higher. But, as Zeno's paradox illustrates, an infinite number of points can exist between two specific ends. There can be an infinite number of points in just me extending my hands to the side. So, let's make this even more interesting by adding time. Recently, one of my friends has been lamenting the inevitable end of his relationship with his girlfriend. Whenever he has an intimate moment with her, he just wants it to let it last forever. The way I see it, a moment does last forever. Each second in this intimate moment can be divided into a smaller subunit. Your memory of an event is a finite reconstruction and framing of an unthinkably complicated, unendingly rich event. Even though a moment, an event that has a beginning and an end, we can continue to explore it, re-examine it, come to new conclusions, feel new effects, and grow in ways that we might never have thought possible. The past is inaccessible to direct sensual observation, but it is not by any means dead. St. Ignatius of Loyola, for whom we have the Jesuits to thank, devised several spiritual exercises for monastics. One is to read a biblical passage, then to carefully imagine oneself in that scene. What are the sounds, the tastes, the sights, the weather like? The events of the Bible, many of which are not events in the sense that they could have been videotaped, are infinite moments. Regardless of their place in time, they have been throughout the ages and are still accessed as a way of giving understanding and meaning to life. Thus, whenever medieval and Renaissance painters depicted Jesus and the apostles, or for that matter any of the virtuous pagans of antiquity, such as Zeno or Aristotle, as looking like a person from their own area and time period, they were not being ignorant of historical facts, but were trying to be in tune with the infinite moment. These were people that mattered to them, even if they never met them in the flesh. Zeno and many of the other Greek philosophers grappled with that idea for change. And even though he was probably just trying to annoy the other Athenians, he does show how strange and nonlinear time and the notion of progress is under further examination. It's a tricky field of thought, but one I think that is worth having. The Zen Buddhists and existentialists have spoken much about living completely within a moment. By recognizing the totality of the present moment, by embracing the unlimited quality of a limited quantity of time, one can unlock a blissful state. For me, I will always remember the Panic at the Disco concert that I went to in fall of 2011 for free in Madison, Wisconsin. For the protagonist of the teenage classic, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, it was recognizing the great potential of adulthood past the angst of being a teenager while driving with his friends through a covered bridge while listening to David Bowie's Heroes. In my opinion, it is not hyperbole for us to say and in that moment, I swear we were infinite.